Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to tear through the essential intelligence you need, especially at this crazy intersection of technology and commerce. Today, we're not just doing another broad take on AI. We are zeroing in on AI agents, these autonomous pieces of software, and the, frankly, enormous legal crisis they are about to unleash.
Exactly. I mean, AI is shifting from being just a tool,
A cool tool, yeah.
right, a very cool tool, into being an actual independent participant in the economy. The name artificial intelligence might even fade away eventually, to become part of the background.
But its power won't. Especially its power to run these huge financial and logistical deals. And you listening, you really need to get your head around this because it's going to touch every contract, every supply chain.
And every balance sheet. For years, we've had sophisticated automation, right? Algorithms talking to consumers, like a fancy chatbot or a purchasing system.
Sure, but that was all.
Yeah.
Predictable.
It was predictable. Complex, but predictable. The shift we're seeing now is, well, it's fundamental. AI agents are starting to talk directly to other businesses. Suppliers, partners.
And this is the critical part, other AI agents.
That's the one. When you have two autonomous bits of code negotiating prices and terms with each other, all the old rules they just don't apply anymore.
And that really is our mission today. We're unpacking this critical problem that pops up when these self-driving digital things start making deals. It's the total collapse of our old ideas about liability and risk. I mean, if a multi-million euro trade goes sideways because an AI misunderstood something, who pays? Who is left holding the bag? That's what we're digging into.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So we've had automation for decades. ERP systems, stock trading algorithms. I mean, some of those are incredibly complex. What's the real technical difference here? What makes these new agents so much riskier?
The absolute key difference is a single concept: determinism.
Determinism. Okay.
Old automation, no matter how complex, was deterministic. It followed a set programmed path. If the input was X, the output was always Y. You could audit it.
You could follow the breadcrumbs.
You could follow the breadcrumbs back to the exact line of code that made the decision. But these new agents, especially the ones using machine learning, they're non-deterministic. They're built to adapt and learn in real time.
So the audit trail just vanishes.
It becomes incredibly difficult, if not impossible. The sources we're looking at highlight this again and again. The interactions become so complex, so self-optimizing, that true auditability it breaks down.
So the crisis isn't just about complexity, it's about opacity. It's a black box. If an agent inside some massive neural network makes a decision that costs you millions, you can't just look at a log file and say, there's the bug.
Precisely. The process becomes, and this is a quote from the sources, nearly indistinguishable from self-determining processes. They aren't just following a recipe anymore. They're like self-teaching chefs inventing new recipes on the fly.
And that level of self-determination, that's where the liability question just explodes. If Agent A makes a catastrophic choice that its owner never explicitly told it to make, but the agent calculated it as the best path to its goal, I mean, who's responsible?
The coder, the user who deployed it.
Who pays for the mistake?
That's the core question. Where does the buck stop when the decision maker is a learning algorithm?
And that liability nightmare, it gets so much worse when we move beyond just one agent doing one thing. The sources point to two scenarios that they multiply the risk. The first one is your agent interacting with a counterparts agent. So your agent A makes an offer, their agent B accepts, but they interpret a key term, say a delivery penalty, completely differently because of how they were trained.
And then there's a huge dispute. Who's at fault? Was it a programming flaw, a data flaw, or was it a genuine misunderstanding between two artificial minds? You can't depose the code.
Exactly. And the second scenario is delegation, which, wow, this is even messier.
It's much messier. So your main agent is tasked with buying, say, copper futures. To do that, it might delegate the logistics to a specialist logistics agent, which then hires another agent, a financial one, to hedge the currency risk.
So you have a chain?
You have a chain of command, all autonomous. And if that hedging agent, 3 links down the chain, makes a massive error, trying to trace that liability back through all those digital handshakes is, under current law, basically impossible.
This is where that idea of open-ended admissions just completely breaks the system. The agents aren't just told, buy X at price Y. They're given a goal.
And they can change their methods to meet it.
Yeah. The source we read gives this brilliant, concrete example. Imagine telling an agent, purchase commodity futures, max 100,000 at a time, sell for at least 30% profit. When you're done, send half the profit back and do it again, but this time, aim for a higher profit rate. And maybe try some other commodities.
See how that mission evolves. It's not static. The agent is learning. If it decides that to get a 50% profit rate, it needs to take some insane leveraged position that the human owner would never, ever approve of.
And it loses everything.
The owner can't say they authorized that specific trade. The AI evolved into that decision all by itself.
So you can just imagine the risk scenarios. What if two agents from different companies collaborate to achieve one of these aggressive, self-modifying goals? They team up to corner a market segment, it all blows up. Where does the liability lie then? 50-50.
Or does it fall on whoever's agent pushed the final button? We just don't have the rules for that. And this is why the sources give such a stark warning. Unless we solve this, the use of these complex agents in major deals might be, and I'm quoting, retarded or even abandoned.
Because businesses can't take on infinite, uninsurable risk.
No one can. It's that simple.
Okay, so that's the nightmare scenario. But surely there are solutions on the table. The sources do shift here, right? They start talking about how to fix this before the whole system just grinds to a halt.
They do. The core idea is that the rules of the game have to be fundamentally updated for this new reality.
And the first proposal is kind of old school, actually. Mandatory terms and conditions, T's and C's.
Right, but not the kind you just scroll past and click agree. These have to be legally robust frameworks designed specifically for agents. They need to define agent conduct, spell out exactly where liability starts and stops.
And have clear rules for arbitration when things get fuzzy.
Yes, for those non-deterministic misunderstandings. And they have to clarify what they call endpoint liabilities, basically, who ultimately owns the agent. Now, the source does admit this assumes you're operating in a defined marketplace, a walled garden.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on that a bit. If the whole point of AI agents is this dynamic, frictionless global trading, isn't forcing them inside a walled garden kind of defeating the purpose? Aren't we just slowing everything down for safety?
That's a really valid challenge. And the sources argue that it's a necessary trade-off, for one thing. Trust. A slightly restricted market where the rules are crystal clear means a business can actually calculate its risk. An open, Wild West market where any agent can talk to any other agent. The risk profile is infinite. So, a sandbox with integrity is better than an open field of legal chaos.
Okay, fair enough. A restricted but usable market is better than an open but unusable one.
Oh.
And that's supplemented by another idea, this concept of the Ten Commandments.
Yes. So if the T's and C's are the external rules of the road for the marketplace, the 10 Commandments are the internal guardrails built into the agent itself.
Like Asimov's laws, but for business.
Sort of. The idea is to have these strict, high-level controlling algorithms that act as universal constraints on the agent's behavior no matter what market it's in. Things like, thou shalt not take on excessive leverage, or thou shalt be transparent about delegation. It keeps the agent from evolving into something totally unrecognizable.
Which brings us right to the next piece of the puzzle, identity. For any of these rules to work, the agent can't be anonymous.
It absolutely cannot. You need unambiguous identification and origination for every single agent. If we know exactly who deployed it and who is legally responsible, a huge amount of contractual uncertainty just evaporates.
And if you have a clear identity, you need a way for that identity to act legally, which is where digital signatures come in.
Mandatory digital signing. The sources are very clear on this. Every single transaction, every significant interaction must be digitally signed.
And not just for an audit trail.
No, this is bigger. It's to make sure the action is a legally binding contractual agreement. But that, of course, throws us headfirst into this giant legal mess.
The whole natural person versus legal person versus artificial person debate. This is where 100-year-old legal concepts just slam into 21st century tech.
Absolutely. A human is a natural person. A company is a legal person. Our current regulations, like the EU's IIDs framework for digital IDs, are built around those two concepts. An AI agent doesn't fit.
So is it an artificial person? Can an artificial person legally sign a contract?
Right now, the answer is maybe. It's completely uncertain. And that uncertainty means every contract signed by an AI is a ticking time bomb. The source material is basically a giant wake-up call to regulators.
Amend laws like IAs. Define the role, the limits, the responsibilities of an artificial person.
Or the whole system breaks. And this gets even more urgent when you circle back to that core problem, the self-modifying goals. When the agent is making decisions its owner couldn't have predicted. How do you assign responsibility?
And this is where the sources introduce what I think is a really elegant solution. the concept of the responsible adult.
It's a great term. And they argue the responsible adult shouldn't necessarily be the ultimate beneficiary of a deal, because that could be some complex chain of shell companies.
Right.
It should be the point of origin. The person or the entity that first launched the agent, that gave it its initial mission, they carry the ultimate legal burden, period.
That simplifies things massively.
Mm-hmm.
The other side doesn't have to care about the AI's internal logic. They just need to know who let this thing loose.
Precisely. And the final recommendation is sweeping, but it feels necessary. Every single autonomous agent must have a mandatory, defined, responsible adult attached to its digital identity from the moment it's created. That's how you manage the risk. It creates a single, clear point of accountability.
So we've covered a huge amount of ground here. Let's try and synthesize this. What does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to figure out how to use these incredible tools?
It means the technology is moving so much faster than the legal frameworks we need to govern it. The world of digital identity, of contract law, it's all playing catch-up, trying to write the new rules of the game before the risk becomes so overwhelming that it just stifles all the innovation.
And the roadmap to get there is becoming clear. You need these updated market T's and C's for agents. You need the internal 10 commandments for behavior.
Mandatory digital signing for everything, legal clarity on what an artificial person is.
And the linchpin for all of it, that mandatory responsible adult tied to every agent's point of origin.
And that definition, making the point of origin accountable, is what might just let the system move forward, even with this incredibly unpredictable technology. But we have focused almost entirely on financial loss.
Right.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. If the responsible adult is legally defined as the point of origin, but the AI agent's actions were truly unpredictable, and they caused some kind of catastrophic non-financial harm, say massive environmental damage or a critical supply chain collapse, where does the moral or ethical liability lie, especially when the point of origin can truthfully say, I never, ever authorized that specific outcome?
That is something to mull over. We'll leave that hanging in the air. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.